Hello and welcome to Tiny Table Talk for The Challenge Season 36, Episode 8. We have a lot of interesting topics to cover in this video. We're going to be looking into Lolo and Nam as a team and also their mental states within the game and where they stand strategically within the house. We're also going to be looking into Josh's first elimination win. And we're going to go through some of the comments from my Thursday's video and look into what possibly could happen in the strategies leading into the rest of this game now that all the guys' skulls are taken. So we have a lot to go over, so without further ado, let's jump into this video. So early on in this episode, we saw that Lolo and Nam are still not working well together. I mean, we saw this happening earlier on in the season when they went through that mini final together in that smuggled run daily challenge, and they just were not on the same page during that challenge. But coming back to the house, they kind of had a blow up still, and now fast forward to this episode and they're still not working well. I mean, strategically and politically, they're not on the same wavelength, and I've noted points of foreshadowing happening within the episodes in my review and recaps sprinkled throughout this season so far. And thinking about this season and how heavy-handed they are with these foreshadowing moments, I think that something is going to come to a head sooner rather than later for Nam and Lolo. Whether it is going to be them being thrown into an elimination, kind of like how Cam was talking about how she wants to put Teresa into an elimination, and it could be that she wants to send her in against Lolo or Casey to make it really difficult for Teresa to even get a gold skull. We haven't seen Lolo much in this whole season except for when doing the smuggled run and fighting with Teresa in the morning at the breakfast nook. Another thing that gets me is that there was a moment that I was able to pick out that I haven't been able to get out of my brain, and that is when Lolo says that she is different from when she's competing than when she's not competing. When you're doing a main season of the challenge, it's so much different than, say, Champs versus Pros, because in Champs versus Pros, I've heard that people can have their phones, they're in a nice luxury hotel, and it's kind of like a 1 month recording time, whereas in the challenge, the main season of the challenge, you're going 24/7. And to me, I don't know what that means for Lolo, because it seems as though that at points she can become unhinged and she gets to where she is just lashing out at people, and maybe she can't take being in the house and competing 24/7. There was also a point in where Nam's confessional, when they were fighting, saying that I'm ready to go solo if I have to. I mean, we could take that as him going into the daily challenge and beasting it out in round one in his heat and getting that win solo, or he's kind of mentioning that, hey, I could go solo, meaning maybe we're not working out well together and I'd be better off without her. To me, that is a choice by the editors. This is a choice by producers to leave that confessional in there. Maybe it is foreshadowing that maybe in the next episode or 2 episodes from now that something will happen with Lolo, whether it is her being sent into an elimination and possibly losing, or something more could happen. I don't know what to expect. I just felt like we saw a lot of Lolo in this episode, to where we don't really see too much of players unless something is going to happen with them. Now, if she was a narrator throughout this whole season, like Big T, like CT, like Cam and Leroy, it would be a whole different situation. But right now, we saw a lot of her and not in the best of light. And I think that's where I'm kind of getting hung up by the confessionals of Lolo and Nam, and how she was so prominent in some of these like blow-ups that possibly her future within this season may not be as long as some people have said. And that's disappointing, because Lolo and Nam are one of the strongest duos in the house, and they're partnered up together, and they just have not like competed at a level that I think a lot of us in the audience had thought that they would. The day has finally come. Josh has won his first elimination ever within the challenges. This is his 4th season, and many of people have mentioned that it was not pretty. It may have not been the most impressive elimination win, but I have to say, hey, it's a win is a win is a win. I mean, Josh did what Josh had to do. Now, some people in the comment section, and I've heard around like Twitter and Instagram, saying that if possibly Josh went up against anybody else within the house, he may have lost that elimination, which, I mean, granted, we don't know what people can do with slide puzzles. I get what Michi is done is that he doesn't really do puzzles. He's never really done slide puzzles. I started learning the strategy and the algorithm to slide puzzles, so I'm much better at them. But beforehand, I mean, I was trying to like rip off slide puzzle pieces when I was younger because I just didn't understand how to do them. I hated slide puzzles for the life of me, and I still don't really like them, but I at least know how to do them now. And I don't think the average Joe or Joanna is doing slide puzzles in their free time unless you watch these reality TV shows and you're like, oh, I want to go on Survivor, I want to go on Big Brother or the challenge, and so we have to start doing these puzzles. We have to start doing math apps. I think at this point, you just look at this elimination, you have to give a little golf clap to Josh saying congratulations, enjoy the moment, because I'm sure this is a huge relief to him. I think Josh needs to enjoy this moment, enjoy this win, enjoy having that weight lifted off your shoulders, that you don't have that stigma anymore of not being able to win eliminations. Guess what? You're not Tyree, you're not Danny, you're somebody who at least was able to get a win in your tenure of the challenge. But now is the tough part. Just as Cam and Leroy said earlier on in this episode, this is a long road. I mean, I was on a live with Charles and Angie, and they were talking about that there's 18 episodes this season. There's still 10 more episodes to come in this season. And I feel as though that Josh and Devin are going to be the ones that are going to be thrown down more times than not. So congratulations again, Josh. You did it. But you have to also realize to shut down the moment and start getting back into the game itself, because there's still a lot to go and there's still a lot of people going to be looking at you for that gold skull. That, oh, I want Josh. I'm calling dibs on getting Josh's gold skull. So enjoy the moment. Don't let anybody take the wind out of your sails right now, but I have a feeling that there is some dark clouds over this gold skull win, because there's so many people that are going to be looking at Josh and Devin as two skulls that could possibly be theirs. All right, let's move on to my favorite segment of Tiny Table Talk, and that is the comments section. I got some comments from my Thursday's review and recap, and there were a ton of good ones that I think could lend to an interesting conversation that I want to spend more time in talking about. I thought, let's just do 2 segments and then get into the comment section, because you guys had a lot of great ones. And we're going to start off this comment section with a comment from Gabby, who says, anyone notice the turbo-like edit they gave Nam after his win in the first round of the daily? I did. I thought that was great. He had the hip thrust of jubilance, and then he did like the Dragon Ball Z Kamehameha celebration. I thought that was really great. It did really remind me of Turbo. Now, similar to Gabby's comment, Loved by You had a comment that said, Nam showing in this daily made me miss Turbo. Smart of him to just keep it close to his chest. I completely agree. I totally miss Turbo. I think Nam killed it in this daily challenge. I think he showed that he has what it takes to do well in the challenge. I think it all boils down in the situation where he stands strategically, and why they're not doing better in daily challenges is because of the partnership between him and Lolo. The next comment comes from Ansel, who says, good job, Josh. I legit thought it was gonna be a girl elimination, and I would want to see Amber B and Amber M. I think that this was an episode, I talked about foreshadowing in the Lolo and Nam segment of this Tiny Table Talk, and I think this is another foreshadowing moment. Now Amber M is saying that she can't trust Amber B, and Amber B is voting in Amber M, and Kyle is going to let the cat out of the bag, and I think this is where we're going to see a shift. I mean, we saw in the preview that they were talking about that how the house is turning into a bit of a Mean Girls type of situation. We could see an Amber v. Amber fight, and I think this episode in particular was foreshadowing that. The next comment comes from D Money Raw, who says, I don't know which name is better, Scubanelli or K-Dog. They both need to come back, Nelson for redemption and Kyle for the comedy. I did not mention this in the review and recap. At one point in a confessional, Kyle called himself Agent K-Dog, which threw me off, and I'm surprised I didn't remember that. I'm so glad you remembered that and mentioned it in the comment section. Personally, I think Scubanelli is better, in my opinion, because it's something that came out of left field. It's something that I didn't even think was a possibility. K-Dog I've heard from, like, I don't know, radio hosts and other people named Kyle, but I think both are really fun. The next comment comes from BB, who says, even if they add components to it, they shouldn't keep repeating eliminations. There are so many other eliminations, new and old, that we want to see. One of my personal favorites is Not So Fast. I agree, I love Not So Fast, and I understand where you are coming from. And I do agree that some of these are getting kind of repetitive and a little bit boring. I think Acid Destruction wasn't the most exciting elimination right off the bat, but maybe this is a product of what happens when you have such a quick turnaround within the season. I mean, they had to put this thing together within a pandemic, have everybody in quarantine, and they really filmed this thing at lightning speed. So possibly maybe they were like, okay, well, we can have a good handful of them, and then we could just keep on tweaking them up here and there, because then that would be like, oh, you should have went in earlier because they were easier. Now there's a slide puzzle. Hearing that there's going to be possibly 18 episodes this season, we're going to be seeing these eliminations pretty much recycled possibly 2 or 3 times. The next comment comes from Carlos, who says, what happens if 2 people without skulls go into the elimination? Does the winner get nothing except for a pat on the back from TJ? Could they steal any skull except for the double agents, putting more pressure on winning the dailies? I had a similar question when I went live on Kiss My Cheeks TV with Charles and Angie. Now, they had a theory that no matter what, if you're going into an elimination, you're going to have to pick somebody with a gold skull to go up against. To me, that's not fair. Why would you even send yourself in early to get a gold skull if what you're going to have to do is compete for the next few weeks of people picking you and possibly having to send you into an elimination of such a small pool sample size? To me, I think what's fair is if all the gold skull holders were like, if we win, we're going to look out for each other and let's just send in 2 people that don't have skulls, and that's their fault. That's their fault for not winning the daily challenge and trying to get their skull early on. So to me, that would enhance why a non-skull holder should win a daily challenge, because then they can choose who they want to go up against in the elimination. If you're saying that no matter what, a gold skull holder will have to go into the elimination, that just defeats the purpose of going early on into the elimination for me. And I think that's a dumb rule if that's what we're going to expect happening from here on out in the season, because there's still such a long road. They didn't even do any of their shenanigans from last season where they threw in Jay 3 times in a row. So as we move further into the game, what makes sense to me in the rules and the format should be that we could send in anybody. And if I'm the gold skull holder, I'm going to the other gold skull holders and going, let's work with each other to where if one of us wins, we're going to send in 2 people that don't have skulls against each other. So if they do win, we still have our skulls. And that makes sense because guess what? Later on in the episode, you're going to have to win a daily challenge so that you, somebody who doesn't have a skull, is going to have to go up against somebody that does have a skull. And so the only way to secure that is to win a daily challenge and then get the matchup you want. Now, if the rules are that no matter what, a gold skull holder has to go into an elimination, to me, that just defeats any rules or logic on why you would go in earlier rather than later. Does that make sense? Or am I just speaking nonsense? The next comment comes from 6 Red Fish, who says, I'm so used to you saying, welcome to season 35 Total Madness, that hearing season 36 hits different every time. Love watching these. Thank you so much. I appreciate you saying that you love the videos. It's funny that you mentioned Total Madness because that was the hardest intro ever to get down. I had to take a couple of weeks to really just say it over and over to myself to get me comfortable with it, because the 2 seasons prior to that one was War of the Worlds and War of the Worlds 2. So it just seemed like it my mouth and my mind was so used to saying War of the Worlds that every time I got ready to do an intro for a Total Madness video, I would just say War of the Worlds without even thinking about it. The next comment comes from Adrian, who says, out of all the rookies we have left, who do you think might make it to the final and or win? Also, which of the Gold Skull guys might get their skull snatched? So when looking at who's left on the rookie side, Nam is the only man rookie left. And then on the women's side, we have Amber B, Amber M, Gabby, and Lolo. I think Nam showed in the daily challenge that he is ready to compete. He has some of the strategies down. I think he's also a very strong man. So I think that he possibly could get his skull. And I don't know too many people who would be going after him. Yes, he's a rookie, but he's so strong and so tall that if he does get his gold skull, I don't know who's going to be messing with him or try to steal his skull. Amber M has had her head on the chopping block for a lot of this season. And so they just took their shot at her with getting Michi out. I feel as though that she's going to be put up on the block again and be another compromised agent for somebody to get their gold skull against her. So ultimately, if Lolo can get in a good rhythm, I could see her doing well. Gabby is a wild card, and Amber B is slowly getting more and more screen time. So to me, she showed that she has some fight with her in the mud wrestling and in the cargo net. So to me, she's showing that she can compete, that she is a strong player, and she's getting more screen time as we go on within the game. And so to me, I feel like she's a wild card as well. So out of the rookies, I feel as though that Nam, Gabby, and Amber B are my top three. And looking at the guys' gold skull snatch up, I mean, if we're really looking at it, I think Fessy and Leroy are sitting pretty, as I feel as though that we could see Josh and Devin as the first two people to get targeted for their gold skulls, and then Kyle could be the third one, depending on who takes Josh and Devin's skulls if they get taken. And the final comment comes from Fonda, who says, I'm excited about next week's Trivia Daily Challenge. Those are always fun. Yes, I am so excited for the Trivia Challenge. It's one of my favorites. I love TJ's laugh. And actually, I had to look up the whole broccoli ban thing in the White House. I had no idea that was a thing. But it goes to show you, don't let people tell you you can't learn something from reality TV, because I certainly did, and I can't wait for it. I'm excited about it, but that is it for this Tiny Table Talk for this week. What do you think about this week's episode? Let me know that in the comment section below. What do you think is foreshadowing happening between Lolo and Nam in this episode? Do you think Nam might play a little dirty, try to get his partner sent in to get sent home so he can get a different partner? Or do you think something else is going to happen with Lolo? Let me know that in the comment section below. Who do you think is on the chopping block for next week? Let me know that in the comment section below. And what do you think about Josh's first win? And do you think possibly he is going to be the first one to be having to defend his gold skull? Let me know that in the comment section too. Thank you so much for watching. While you're down there, hit that like and subscribe button. I'll be back really soon with more Challenge 36 content, more challenge content, more content in general. But until then, peace.